When is the right time to talk to your kids about the topic of pornography? The answer might surprise you. So when is the right time to talk to your kids about the topic of pornography? I would suggest that the right time to talk to your kids is before they have access to the internet. So before they have Wi-Fi access. So if your kids are 5 and 6 and using an iPad and accessing unfiltered internet, then it's definitely time to talk to them about pornography. Now, don't be freaked out. You don't need to even use the word pornography, but it's simply a conversation that introduces the notion that there's going to be things online that they will encounter that aren't good for them. And it introduces what they should do when this occurs. So this topic is really important, with the average age of exposure to pornography being somewhere between the ages of 8 and 11. And many people I speak to who have problematic sexual behaviours or a porn habit that they don't want, they report that they started using porn long before the age of 8. Now this shocks a lot of parents, right? Because no parent wants to think of their child as a porn user. But you've got to understand, for most kids, a porn habit starts out of curiosity. And some feelings, some emotions and some urges begin, and they start to experiment with what they can find online, and then eventually it develops into something that is a stimulus for pleasure, and then problematic sexual behaviours can follow. So I want to encourage you that it's never too early to have a gentle, age-appropriate conversation. The first thing I'd suggest is having everyday conversations. Now, an example of this happened in my life, and it was the first conversation I recall having with my oldest 2 daughters. And I was sitting on the veranda one day and I was on my phone, and something popped up on my phone that I didn't want to see. It was a picture of a lady not wearing much clothes, and I showed my wife, and my kids got wind of this and said, "Oh Daddy, what is it? Show me, tell me, what was it?" And I almost dismissed them, right? That's what we do as parents when we're uncomfortable or we don't want to talk about something. We sort of just, push our kids away. But I took the opportunity to have a conversation, and I just said, "Look, something popped up on my phone that I didn't want to see." It was a rude picture. It was a picture of someone not wearing much clothes, and they were showing their private parts, and I took it off the screen as soon as I showed Mummy. I used that as an example to explain what they could do. I said, "Hey, if and when this happens, when something pops up on your screen, such as a nude picture or a rude picture or something that makes you feel uncomfortable, can I encourage you to do the same thing? Come to Mummy and Daddy, show us, and you won't be in trouble, and we'll just take it off the screen." And so by going through that example with my kids in real time, in a real life situation, I made it something that was easy to do. I gave them a plan, a scaffolding for if and when this occurs in their life. Secondly, there are a bunch of good books and resources around this topic. Can I encourage you to use one of them to help you, particularly if you feel awkward around the language and what to use? I'll put a link in the description, and I've done a little book review of a couple of these items, so you can check that out as well. Can I encourage you to make reading one of these books part of your reading cycle with the kids? Have it on the bookshelf and have it as one of the resources that you go to every now and then to upskill and remind the kids what to do, because they'll forget. So it's good to cover this topic many, many times throughout childhood. Lastly, can I encourage you to introduce a conversation about this topic? Even though you don't want to, you want to think that your kids will never look at porn. But it's really easy to do, and it's important to do. Find a casual and relaxed and fun setting. Maybe have an ice cream and sit down at the local park bench, and introduce the notion of how there are good pictures and there are bad pictures. You can start the conversation by simply talking about how there are, lots of good things and bad things. There can be a good picture of sunsets and puppy dogs, and there can be bad pictures, scary things that make you feel icky or uncomfortable. And by starting to talk about the notion that there are things online and things that you can encounter that are uncomfortable, you can also introduce the notion of how you may see people with not much clothes on. People doing rude things, or people showing parts of their body that are usually covered by a swimsuit. You can introduce what you would like your child to do and how they're not in trouble when they encounter this sort of thing, but that they should always come to you. So, can I encourage you as a parent? No one likes to talk about this topic. No one thinks it's essential, but I want to remind you that in today's day and age, this is essential parenting. This is something you can and should do as a parent.